So good morning, everyone. My name is Caleb Funk. I'm one of the solutions team managers here at IMAGINiT, and I'm ready to go this morning. Got my lemon LaCroix right next to me, and should be good to go from here. So I wanted, real quick, for those of you, I'm sure so many of you on this call are familiar with IMAGINiT, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over who we are and what we do. But IMAGINiT, I've been with this company for almost 19 years now, and it's been so fun to be with someone who is leading, being such a leader in the field. So we're a leading provider of Autodesk products, as well as other tools such as Leica Geosystems, and a big thing that we do is professional services and training. That's part of the group that I'm a part of. And of course, we're part of a larger company, and we've got other sides to us where there's, for instance, the Dassault training and PTC training, Dassault Solutions, and Ascent, who does a lot of the courseware. If you've ever taken a class with us or probably with another reseller, you've used Ascent courseware, and that's written by a sister company of ours. We interact with them a lot. It's really nice to be able to make suggestions for the courseware and help them review the courseware and make sure it's exactly what we need to present it. This is where we're at, all over North America here. I am one of these red ones in the middle. I'm in Ohio, here in Toledo, so that right there at the top of Ohio that one's me. And these are just some of the things that we offer. I mentioned professional services, and that covers so many different things. So often we think of it as training, which is definitely a part of it, but a big thing that we do is general consulting on your CAD software, your data management solutions, the implementation, processes, automating processes, whether it's through software or understanding how to leverage these things within the CAD tool, capturing all of that information. So there's a lot of different things that we offer. We definitely, sell the software, but so much goes beyond that when we come to working with the different tools and ways that we can leverage them. Now, a couple of quick things that I did want to bring to your attention, and because they're almost done. I've done a few of these webcasts, and we've had this going for a little while, but so these are some things with IMAGINiT. You can finance up to 100% of your purchase with a product design and manufacturing collection, of which Inventor is a part that I'm talking about now. If you subscribe to that, you can get 25% off other tools for data management and visualization. And if you subscribe right now on a 3-year subscription, you can save 10%. So you see that some of these are expiring soon. I just wanted to, I was just talking to Cassie. I'm like, well, I guess this will be probably one of the last times I have this slide in my presentation because we're getting so close to those dates of those closing out. And I remember the first time I did this, I thought 2019 was so far away, and now here we are. It's getting close to the end. Well, not the end of 2019, the end of those things, I guess. But yeah, to win, it's hard to believe 2019. So far, I've written it correctly on every check I've written, which has been won. So 100%. So what I want to talk about is two things. It's Inventor 2019.3 and Vault 2019.1 and some of the tools that they've put into there. So I mentioned I've been with IMAGINiT for 19 years now. And so I've done lots and lots of what's new within the different tools, going all the way back to, probably Inventor 8 was probably the first Inventor What's New I did when we used to do the road shows and go all over the place in different cities and show these things off. And so we did that once a year, though. It was once a year there was the new product, there was the new information. But Autodesk has really, really put some time into the subscription benefit. And this is a subscription benefit. If you're on subscription with them, you can get 2019.3. Of course, that means there was a 2019.1 and a 2019.2. You can download those. It's about almost 300 meg. I mean, it's not a huge download, but you can download that pretty quickly and get that information. Get that loaded in. You can also do it through the Autodesk desktop app. Now, I don't know if, your mileage may vary, but my experience with the desktop app is I was going to download it through that when okay, I'll hit the button, and it just seemed like it was taking forever. I thought, my gosh, is this a whole new seat of Inventor I'm downloading? How big is this thing? So I went to the subscription site, and it was, 250 meg. And I thought, okay, so the desktop app I've had, I think it'll work if you're trying to do it in the background overnight and get it the next morning. That should be fine. But I just wanted to download it, so I did it right from the site. So again, it changes. If you're using Inventor 2019, you don't have to use 2019.3. There's nothing that says you have to have this particular tool. It's just enhancements. Also, 2019.3 doesn't change the file format at all. Every year with Inventor, we have this idea that the file format changes and updates. This does not. This is enhancements that do not change the database, the underlying database schema or anything. It's exactly the same tool. So just be aware of that. You don't. If someone's on 2019.3 and you're on 2019, it's all 2019. So it's a cumulative release. The other thing is everything that I'm showing here in 2019.3. This shows up. This will be in the next release of Inventor. That basically it's things that they kind of used to do this through the Autodesk Labs, where they would say, "Well, it's about ready, but we're not sure. We'll put it on Labs, and maybe it'll make it in the next release." This is a little different. Anything that we have here, this will be in the next release of software. So some of the different things, and one of them you probably saw in the webcast invite. We talked about a few different things over there, and I'll mention a few of them here that stood out to me. One is the Content Center. They have updated the Content Center, and they've updated the way that you can search for things. The search tools are much easier to locate. These searches can now be saved. So it's so much easier to access this information. I'll pull that up here. I just want to kind of walk through a quick search. I really like how they've done it. Content Center was great, but you were kind of filtering through, and sometimes it was a little fuzzy, right where you were going. Where do you find all this information? But what I'll do is I'll just pop this up and show this real quick. So I'm going to share my monitor 1, which is you. Awesome. And I'm going to go here to assemble, place from Content Center, just like we always would. And I'll point this out. In fact, I've got some search results. I was playing around with saving some search results, and that's what we have there. But when I go here to search, notice that I have a couple of things going on here. One is I've got advanced searches that I can go with, so I can put in advanced information. First, I just want to take a look. I can put in name, description, part number, all of these different things. So if I just come in here and type in bolt, for example, and then we can run a search for that. And there's every bolt, and then I'm going to type bolt hex. Now, I'm not getting into much of the, actually, it's going to be the name. Hex I'm going to put down here in the description. So these searches, first of all, it's going to run them much quicker than what we've seen in the past. It's really clean the way that this comes in. And then we can get into these advanced ones. If we run an advanced search, I can search for any parameter. So I'm going to say, I'm going to go look for fasteners. I'm going to go look for bolts. And these are all those parameters. I can get right down to, thread pitch, size across the flats, all of these different things. And I can say, okay, I want to say I'm looking for a part number that is equal to, less than, is not equal to, ends with, blah, 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 blah. So there's a lot of different things that we can begin to search for when we're looking for all of this different information. So I'm searching for bolts, and I'll say description, family description is hex. And I'll add that to my list of things I can search for. And I can continue to build up this search until I get it, really right where I want it to be. And I can say, however, the material does not contain, contains start with, equal or less than, greater than, equal to, up. And I can put in all of this different information that I'm searching for, continue to add those to the list. Here I can say, yep, I want to look for, we'll look for all of my gold bolts. I don't have a whole lot, I'm sure, but I'll just throw those into the search. And I can continue to add this to the list, and I can find items with that criteria. Now, no components found, which hopefully I wouldn't have any. But I can save that search. So I can come over and then save that and then add it to my list of saved searches. So it's kind of nice if you've got a, there are favorites. We could always mark favorites. We could do things like that. But a lot of times I'm not as concerned with one favorite item as much as I really want to just be able to find this grouping of things, however I want to group them. So I really like the addition of the search tools. It feels, and to me, very much like Vault with the search tools that we have available there. I feel like they at least borrowed conceptually some of those ideas. And you can kind of tell that cross-pollination between those two is showing up there. So I'm going to stop sharing, go back to my slideshow. So you can save the searches, recall them later. I really like the advanced tools and how we can access all of that. The big thing to me within this particular point release is the frame generator. So the frame generator has been around for a very long time. I remember, gosh, I can't remember when it first came out. But when that tool first became available, I'm like, this is amazing, this is great. I can just go ahead and use the skeleton, throw some frame pieces on there, it's working perfectly. And of course, everyone knows what you run into very quickly with frame generator is if I put on a 2 by 2 by a quarter piece, eventually I'm going to run into some naming conflicts because I might have that 2 by 2 by a quarter in one assembly and that 2 by 2 by a quarter in another assembly, and if they're the same length, all of a sudden they're getting called out with the same information. This gets exacerbated when we move to Vault, because when we put this over to Vault, and Vault says every file name has to be unique, and I want to make sure we're all, we're not overwriting anything, all of a sudden I might have all these names that are just lining up left and right in ways that I don't want it to. So what they did is they added this in where I can change the naming defaults for frames, assemblies, and frame members. Now, this is going to be under the application options, and again, I'm going to share my screen. So I'll just go over here to my tools, my application options to pull this up. And under my file naming, this is kind of hidden. You're not going to jump right on this right away. Here's all the things that we've seen before. Where are certain files located, templates, right down the line. And then down at the bottom, I've got this thing that just says file naming defaults. And this opens up the frame generator file naming defaults. So again, it's on the File tab, kind of hidden at the bottom, and here's the file naming defaults. So with this, I can say, for every frame I generate, give it a unique number. So this is, I'm not sure. I was really looking to see where are they coming up with this unique number. Is it hashing it from the date and the time? Where's that coming from? Couldn't find it. But it's getting us a unique number for each one of those. And the other default is the skeleton's going to have a unique number. Now my options are, I can say the frame and then use the assembly name and not a unique number. So whatever my assembly is named, that could go there. So that's how I'm going to set this up. I'm going to say instead of giving me that unique number, I want this to say frame and then whatever the assembly name is. And the skeleton, I'm going to go the same way. I want it to list the skeleton and then the assembly name. Except I usually call out skeletons just S-K-E-L, right? So that'll be fine. That's how we'll set this up. And then the frame member itself, by the way, the other options are I could reset, just clears it out. Index number means the first one's 1. The first one you generate once you set this up is 1. And you notice down here it says 0001. So we can generate quite a few of these, 9,999 before we run out of index numbers. And it will just go with the next one the next time and the next one the next time. I don't love index number because if this is set up on each person's system, it's possible you could still overwrite each other. I like unique number. I like assembly name. Assembly name is great because hopefully you have unique assembly names and we're going from there. Then the frame member, how are we naming the frame member? And this has a lot of options. It can be the assembly name plus a unique number plus an index number. You can pull a Content Center property. So it could be a property right from Content Center. Description, name, manufacturer information, material, pull the part number. If you've edited your Content Center so that you've got part numbers for each of these, that could be part of the name as well. Standard organization, stock number, and then reset just clears it out. So I will leave it alone. I'm going to go with my standard ANSI, stock number, C, which is my ANSI, my C3x3, and then it'll append a unique number to it. The location for this, you'll notice if I have a location, I can say OK. We've got the assembly path and then the assembly. So wherever the assembly is, and then it'll give the assembly name, and then the frame will go underneath that. I can set up whatever folders I want. So maybe I want to call it out specifically every single, frame components. That's how I want this to be named. Instead of just going into frame, I want it to be called frame components. Fair enough. So now that I've done all of that and put that in place, I'm going to throw some frame on real quick just so we can kind of see this. The idea is that we're able to control all of that naming now. And this isn't something that we have to, you know, before, you're kind of at the mercy of the defaults that it's going to give it. And then maybe you'd go in and rename some things later or whatever else. But the idea would, you know, it was definitely a secondary operation. So now we can continue. I can just continue on here, and I'll just do a real quick frame up here. Just grab some stuff. You, and you. That's good for now. We'll just say that because I want to show something else in a moment. But I'll say, okay, that's all good. And I'm going to apply that, and it comes up with my names. So as it comes up with the names, you notice it's called frame, and then whatever my assembly name is, which that's my assembly name, M01, A002, A001, that's my assembly name. So it says, okay, naming the frame that, naming the skeleton that sounds good to me. And then, so it knows my frame name, it knows my location, which is now frame components, because that's where I told it to go, knows my skeleton name, I'll say, yep, that all sounds good to me. And then each of these are being named. You'll notice they'll have a unique number as it goes through. So it's looking at it, it's hashing it, pulling a unique number for each one, and it's calling the information out. I say, okay, sounds good, sounds good, sounds good. So now I've got the unique numbers, the unique names, all of that placed in there. So it's a great way of accessing this if, you know, to make sure that these don't overwrite each other, to make sure that we're not fighting for different names within there, we can have all of that. So I think it's a great addition. It's a simple one, but it's a really cool way that they've added to that. I'm going to just jump back. A couple other quick things with Frame Generator, which is probably one of the bigger areas, you know, better tools that we have within here. One thing they did is they added multiple select for a couple of different things. It works with miter, it works with notch, where we can now multiple select items. I think we're going to see this, and this is my total made-up prediction, but my guess is we're going to see this multiple select happen more and more with Frame Generator. It was very much a frustration for me when I would go to work with something and I had to select it piece by piece. You know, oh yeah, that one's going to go here, great, that one's going to go here, and you know, we'd kind of have to work through that a little bit. Now we have the ability to multiple select these different items, and I've got just a moment to show some of that. I'll jump back here to monitor one. So with this, I'll just take a look at the top view, and I've got all my corners on here. I'm going to say miter, right? And I can select multiple frame members, or I can select into part, you know, one pair. So they've got this idea, and with multiple, I can even window select. So I'll go through and grab all of that and say, okay, sounds great. And now it'll just miter the whole thing at once. It's a simple enhancement, but a welcome one. It makes life a lot smoother when we're not having to, you know, pick and pick and pick and pick. The idea is that it just smooths that out so that we've got a pretty straightforward way of selecting that. If I take a look at the notch, it's exactly the same thing. So you see the select multiple frame members to notch cut, where I could notch that out of there. I don't think I've got anything set up right now for that, but we can go through and say, yep, you know, this is how this is going to work, and I can select which ones we're going to notch, which ones we're going to apply the profile to, and I can select multiple members. So I like that they're adding those selection tools right into these other tools that we have. And this is why we don't see the file format change. You notice all these tools that I'm using, it's naming, it's selection sets, it's things like that. It's not a complete rework of something, but it is a nice addition to what we've worked with before. I like how they've set that up. And I'll stop sharing. A couple other quick things that I'm going to just point out, and I didn't, you know, I was looking at my PowerPoint, I'm like, oh, I didn't add that. But so I'm going to actually jump right back over to sharing. And when looking at tools, I'm going to see if I can find this option real quick. There is a new option when we do a section view in when we're looking at something and we set up a section view, I'm just going to set one up here real quick. So I'll do a half section view, and I'll base it off of this, but drag it back. Okay, so we traditionally get this kind of section view look right there. This kind of hatch pattern that goes on there as it gives us that section. We actually can now adjust what that is. We can adjust the bitmap that goes there. We can go through and say, well, no, do I want to see that gray, that kind of view that we've always seen, or do I want to adjust that to something else? And we can. So that's kind of a nice benefit that they put in place. Nothing huge, but we can now make an adjustment to that. So if I go to, and I'm just going to go to Tools, just where I did before, Application Options, and here on the colors, here I now have my section solid texture. So that's what we're looking at here. And there's the default gray, or I could go select a bitmap that I wanted to apply to that. So this is particularly nice if we're trying to give some sort of presentation where we want to show, and I don't want just this simple gray look within here. Maybe I want some specific bitmap so that we can see what a section cut of that would actually look like. We can now go select whatever bitmap and apply it to it. It does have to be a BMP, can't be a PNG or a JPEG, so it's going to be a bitmap that will apply to it. And one reason that I wanted to point that out is Mark Flayler of IMAGINiT. That was one of his suggestions, and it's always fun to see your suggestion make it into the actual release of the software. So thank you, Mark, for making that suggestion. It's always a good one. And I'm going to stop sharing here for a minute. Oh, my apologies. I did want to keep sharing. I wanted to get rid of my section. That's what I wanted to do. And so I'll just go back here to my view and clear out my section. So we can just, it's a simple switch. You can go in there and make that adjustment so that it's one or the other. That's just kind of nice. I'll just end my section view so I see that. And I'm going to turn this part off. I'm going to create a super quick drawing of this. It doesn't really matter to me much of what it is. Drop that down so it's the right size. There we go. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to place some notes on here. And I was going to just write this as some text, and you might notice that I intentionally spelled that wrong, and it gives me the little underline. So this is spell checked within here so that I can go through, I think I went theft. I don't, I went text. But there is a spell check tool now built right within here. It's part and parcel of it. Now we can see, I could ignore it, add it to the dictionary, exactly what we would think before. This was actually available there was like a custom secret hidden area within Inventor. You could kind of go turn this on. This works very, very much more like AutoCAD would, though. It's much more straightforward, and it's just there. So if you install 2019.3, you will have this spell check available within there. So again, it's nothing huge. You kind of could get to it before, but it's just part and parcel of it now. So I like that. A couple of things that I'll point out about Vault, and this is 2019.1 of Vault. So Vault only had one of these enhancement packs that have been released, and where there were 3 with Inventor. But it's really kind of a neat idea, and that's the idea of opening a drawing from Vault. So traditionally, if I was working on a particular part from Vault and I wanted to go open the drawing, I would have to go search for it within Vault. I just have to go dig it out. Even though you're connected to Vault, and even though it knows it's there and it understands the relationships and how everything fits together, you would still have to specifically go connect to it. So what we have now is if we can just right-click in the browser and say, open the drawing from Vault. And if there's a drawing associated to it, it goes to Vault, finds the drawing, opens it up. If there are multiple drawings, which is possible, I can have that file linked to as many drawings as I want to, really. A dialog box appears with Vault so that you can select which one you're going to open. So there is a selection dialog that will appear with that. So you can say, oh yeah, I want to open version 4 of that or whatever it would be. So it's, again, doesn't change what Vault does natively. It just enhances what we have, and it's a way to do that. And the other one is kind of along those lines, and that's replace from Vault. And if I replace from Vault, I can replace a single instance, or I can replace all instances, just like I would normally with Inventor. Inventor's had a replace and a replace all command for quite some time, but those were based off of files that were on your hard drive. These are files that says the same thing, and it's all files that go from Vault. So it's a way to, select to replace right from there. It does work only from the Inventor browser. So if you get this installed and want to try it, just be aware. The Vault browser, if I have 10 items, it just shows one of them in the Vault browser because it's one file that's linked in. That's all it cares about. It doesn't care how many instances there are. So you will see this only in the Inventor browser. So that just means within Inventor, you have to be in the Inventor browser to use the replace all. And it's just a right click. It's just one of the Vault options that we have off the right click. And again, to me, it's another reason to use that right click. It's just one more tool that's under there. But it's nice to see this direction, them going in this direction. This is kind of day-to-day use in my mind. It's just things that we want to use all the time. And, you run into that, wait, gosh, why can't I open the drawing? Yeah, I got to go download the part and then use the Inventor replace. Well, now we don't have to. We can do it right through there. As part of that. Very good. Another thing with Vault that's kind of interesting, it affects, there's billions, and I'm probably not exaggerating when I say billions of PDF files in the world, and, probably millions of AutoCAD files, and a lot of times they end up being connected to each other. AutoCAD has been able to make use of a PDF underlay for quite a while now. So what we have is before this release, before 2019.1, PDF files had to be checked in and out separately from the AutoCAD file. It didn't really see it as a connected file. Now it's a little different. It's treated the same way as an XREF in AutoCAD is. So the PDF is seen as a connected file. It'll attach it to Vault. It knows it's part of it, knows it's there. And they can be attached directly from Vault. So just like I can attach an XREF from Vault, I can attach a PDF from Vault as well. So it's just kind of enhancing the workflow. A lot of people are using already where they've got those items connected, and instead of having to do it all within within Vault and having to do that manually, PDFs are now treated just like any XREF would be. So it's just kind of a nice addition to that. So as I was going through here, there's so many times if you're a user that's been using AutoCAD or been using Inventor or been using Vault, particularly Inventor and Vault, if you've been using them for a long time, it's really easy to continue to use the tool the way you always have. Well, we always built it like this. And I've run into this with a few different people we start talking to, and they're like, yeah, we never really used that. We always, did this thing. I'm like, wow. This tool came out 3 years ago, and it would really enhance what you're doing there. And that's why I think sessions like this are so important, just to make you aware of what else is out there. But I know a lot of times it's, whether it's implemented or not, or spending the time to look at it there's a lot going on. So one thing that we have been started to offer, this is something fairly new with IMAGINiT, is the idea of an Inventor health check. And what it's really about is we want to take a look at your Inventor environment, and that can be the software, how is it configured, how is it set up, as well as processes. What tools are you using to design today? Are there other tools that are there? And this is really for customers who've been using Inventor for a while. If you just installed it 6 months ago, probably not quite right for you because you're still, you're probably using all the things you just learned in the class when you took the Inventor. But man, if this has been in your company since Mechanical Desktop, it's very possible there's tools that you're not aware of. We also have a lot of customers who will do their own Inventor implementation and will ask us questions like, hey, did we do this right? And so between those two things, we've seen so often, we came up with a specific offering that we have, which is the Inventor Health Check service. It's up to 2 days on site. We go through, we talk to a lot of different people. We'll look at product models, review how modeling is done, talk about user adoption and usage, and then basically we'll spend some time off-site to review that, kind of discuss, among ourselves, and we create a report that comes out of that we'll come back and deliver to you. So it'll give you an idea of what that looks like, how this is what we found, this is what we've seen at other customers, this is some areas that maybe you could start leveraging to get greater efficiency out of the software. And of course, we do exactly the same thing with a Vault health check. So with Vault, this is one too where people will get it in place, and Vault Basic, I've had several customers install it themselves, and their next question is, hey, can you take a look at it? Do we do it right? So same thing. You might have been using it for a while and aren't sure if there's other things that we could leverage. Maybe there's a point release that had something in it, or so you've done your own implementation and want someone to review it. Absolutely, that's just what this is for. And if you take a look, we've got very similar. We would go through and do some review, take a look at some different things. How is it being used? Are there any existing pain points? And very similarly, we'll come back with a report that we can say, hey, these are some areas you can look at and some different tools you could possibly use. So those are two new offerings. If you're interested in those at all, please talk to your sales rep. We'd love to talk to you about it a little more, give you an idea of what the cost looks like and what the timing looks like and when we could get out there and do that. So those are the things that I wanted to hit on the kind of the what's new and the different point releases that we have. So Cassie, I don't know if there are any questions that came in while I was talking. I was kind of rambling on there for about a half hour, and want to see if anyone had any questions on anything I said.